Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 251 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. If you haven't heard it yet today, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and things are working in your favor. So look for how that's true, because it is. Look for the evidence of that, because you're going to find what you're looking for. Okay, if you live in America, as I record this, you probably know we've had some drama lately with some of the Supreme Court decisions, unless you live under a rock. And if you do live under a rock, congratulations. Are there any rooms available? Just kidding, kind of. But seriously, I woke up this morning and my brain was wanting to check in on all the drama of what was going on. But I've been doing this long enough to know that that is not the first thing I need to do. I'm in a much better frame of mind when I stick to my morning routine of listening to a positive message while I make my coffee and my breakfast, and then meditating, journaling, and then doing my thought download. The positive video that I watched was talking about knowing that something isn't good for you and then doing it anyway. And I thought, that's interesting. I do that sometimes. And then during my thought download, I wrote that my brain wanted to check in on the drama, meaning get on Twitter. And my second thought was, I'm worried that I'm going to. Then my third thought was that I'm in control. My brain can't reach out of my head and maneuver my phone to Twitter. I have to do that. And it hit me right then. Oh, wow, I am in control. I actually wrote that in my thought download journal. My brain can tell me I want something, and I can say no. So part of me knows getting on Twitter isn't the best use of my time. In fact, it's a huge waste of time and brain energy. Of course it is. Nothing good's going to come from that. The other part of me wants the drama. So which one won out and why? Well, I'm going to answer that in a minute. But first, we cause ourselves a lot of problems by just living by default, by allowing our brain to just run free with thoughts that don't serve us. When we live by default, okay, sometimes we get lucky and things work out great. And sometimes they're not so good. But we are often left to the whims of our primitive brain, which is impulsive, and it doesn't make great decisions. Sometimes it won't even give you the option to make a good decision because it's not going to offer you a thought about it. On my podcast last week, I was talking about how I thought our dishwasher had stopped working, but it had just come unplugged. What I didn't tell you is how it came unplugged. Remember earlier I said we cause ourselves a lot of problems by living on default? Well, the plug to our dishwasher is actually under our sink, where we also keep brown paper bags because we use them for recycling. So if they're folded up nicely, I'm able to get them out very easily and all is well. But if they're not folded up all in one direction nicely, it's pretty difficult to get them out. And so I was a little frustrated because they were kind of all folded in different directions. And so out of frustration, I jerked one out, which caused the fire extinguisher under there to knock over, and everything under that side of the sink fell onto the floor. Well, when the fire extinguisher fell over, it unplugged the dishwasher, which I didn't find out until the next day. You see, I caused myself so much angst in this situation. I just was letting my brain run free with the thoughts of why aren't these bags coming out easily, and why doesn't Eric put them in correctly, and just ruminating to the point that I got so frustrated and caused a whole other level of frustration the next day because of the unplugged dishwasher. Have you ever had an experience like that? I bet you have. Why didn't I just take out the bags and put them back in the same direction? It would have made my life so much easier. But at the moment, because of my frustration and me not handling it, my brain didn't even offer me that option to take them out and fix it because I was living on default in that moment. And newsflash, even after that happened, I still didn't put them in the right direction, probably because I was so frustrated. So as I was thinking about this episode for you guys and including that story in it, I thought, okay, I'm going to go fix the garbage bags right now while my mind's on it. So I got up and I went over there and I opened the sink, and there they are, all lined up perfectly. You see, I had told Eric about this story, and he is a great example of someone who lives very intentionally, pretty consistently. So when he heard that story, at some point, he went under the sink and he took the bags out and he lined them up perfectly. That won't surprise you if you know him. So he's a great example of living intentionally, consistently. I am constantly having to work on it. So back to my story about whether or not my brain won out, or if I held firm on not getting on Twitter. Well, I won. I got to put a stone in my urge jar. And I was able to do it because I stuck to my daily routine. And I heard that message of avoiding things we know are not good for us. And then my thought download, where I was able to get those thoughts out of my brain and onto my digital paper, where I could acknowledge it, step away from it, feel what it feels like for my brain to want something, and for me to tell it, no, we're not getting on Twitter, because it'll wreck our mindset for the day. And that isn't how it's going to go today. My brain can tell me I want something, and I can say no. And so can you. But we have to give ourselves the option. A lot of that is being intentional. Intentional about how we wake up, how we start our day, where we allow our mind to go in the morning. Does it go right to the drama? Does it go right to negative self-talk when we look in the mirror or get on the scale? Does it go right to someone else's agenda by getting on email the first thing? I mean, we all have a brain, and our brains are hardwired in some ways from birth and in other ways from our daily habits. The good news is it's changeable. We can change the course of our life no matter how old you are. It's not easy, but as I just showed you from my experience, neither is living on default. They're both hard. You just have to pick your hard. Now, one is a life on default and autopilot, where you go wherever your primitive brain takes you. The other is a life of intention and creation, where you notice the thoughts your brain sends you and ultimately decide if that's the path you want to take, or if there's one that will serve you better long term. It's what I like to call mindset work. Think of your mindset work like your physical exercise. You have to do it consistently, and you don't get to a point where you can stop. It's ongoing. I believe we're at a point in society where the happiest, healthiest people are working daily on their mental and their physical health. My challenge to you this week is to embrace that phrase, my brain can tell me I want something, and I can say no. This causes you to be really aware that you aren't your thoughts, and your thoughts aren't you. It'll cause you to become aware of the thoughts your brain is giving you. And you can take at least one of those thoughts that you know isn't going to serve you and just say, no, that's not the path we're taking today. Maybe your brain wants to have a donut for breakfast, but you know the eggs will keep you fuller and have you thinking cleaner. So you acknowledge that the brain wants the donut. Notice how it feels to let your brain want it and ultimately not have it, because you're in control. The urge to have it will fade. It's one of the most empowering things you'll ever do, because we're bombarded by indulgences every second anymore. In order for us to each live our version of a wildly successful lifestyle, we have to know which ones serve us long term and which ones won't. And now you have a tool to do it. The title of this episode is, Can You Tell Your Brain No? The answer is yes. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.